Hello YouTube, my name's Dane Lemaitre and welcome to another Hornby Thomas the Tank Engine review. And this review is of course all about Thomas. Thomas was my first engine, along with Annie and Clarabel here. He came in a train set that I got given as a present for Christmas 1998. From there my hobby of model railways continued. However, this Thomas is a bit like Trigger's broom. It's had one new body and still has the same chassis. Yeah, it still has the same chassis. If you want to have a look here, there is the original Thomas there. If you look, he's lost a buffer, he's lost his eyebrows, and also his one got a bit scratched, and one of his step ladders, unfortunately, when it came off once, got quite damaged, and you can see there more that the paint came off. However, it's still obviously one of my. So that's the original chassis. But as I say, I'd never get rid of it. Because it's got quite a sentimental reason. And of course, you've got Thomas here. I bought this new body off of eBay, and there's a shop called Peter's Spares. Peter's Spares, they have Murdoch's wheels. They have loads of other Thomas parts, Thomas engines, and of course spare parts. However, it's not the only one. If you look carefully here, Clarabel, also from childhood, had a bit of an accident, and she lost one of her buffers. However, you may remember in Leicester there was a toy shop called Domino's, long before Domino's the pizza place, and unfortunately last year Domino's closed down. Again, it's all to do with this day and age with the internet taking over and things like that. It's a real shame, but I used to like going in Domino's. Had lots of toys, and I always used to buy something whenever I went in there. I don't think I ever went in there and came out empty-handed. It's a real shame it's gone. So you should always support your local shops and family businesses, else it's not going to be there. So it's a real shame that it left. As I said, when I was in Domino's, I actually got another Clarabel. So here is my other Clarabel here, and saying the buffers are actually on that one. With the packaging of the coaches, I'd say it's really good. They don't come in polystyrene like the actual engines, but the plastic still protects them, and they're not quite as fragile. As you can see, there's Clarabel there, and there is one quite big difference. She has her wheels are like silver, whereas this one, the wheels are black and they have a white rim around them. And what I'm thinking of doing is swapping the wheels round, so the white ones are on that one, so that it goes well with Annie, who's still okay, and again has the white wheels. So Annie's actually the most original, really. She's not had any new parts or anything like that. So of course this is a review. I think the Thomas model is really good. One thing I would say though is that the blue is far too dark. This has also been on the Hornby Gordon model, and as we discussed once before, the blue on the Hornby Edward is a much better colour. So I think he's really good. This Thomas comes with traction tyres. And also, he doesn't have underneath him in white writing the year that he was built, like Dart, Murdoch, and Spencer. But he was made. But obviously it's not the same body on top. But the chassis is still the original, so that'd be about 1998, making it about 16 years old this year. And in 1998, I would have been 5 years old. So I've had it. So quite a sentimental one. With Thomas, I think it's a bit of a shame about his running plate. It's painted blue, whereas it should be grey. And with engines like Murdoch and Gordon, they've painted them the right grey colour, really. So it's a shame it's not with Thomas. But also, his running plate dips at the back, whereas it didn't on his television series model. Of course, Thomas has a Bachmann counterpart. However, the one thing I don't like about the Bachmann one is Thomas's face. And looking at this, I much prefer this model because I think face-wise it is a lot better. When going around the layout, Thomas, because he has the traction tyre on the middle wheel, he can be a bit sort of wobbly. I mean, you probably won't notice it much here, but having traction tyres there and none there does make him a tiny bit wobbly. But he does still run really well nevertheless. This isn't the only Thomas model I've got. I've also got the Great Discovery one. As you can see here, the Great Discovery. That, of course, comes in the Great Discovery set. There was a in a Model Zone in Milton Keynes. There was an exclusive Muddy Thomas, which was just Thomas in a normal box, looking like this. But like I said, this one was part of the Great Discovery set. So you got the Muddy Thomas. So weathered Thomas. You've got the weathered Annie. You've also got Clarabel, and it comes with two weathered blue and red open plank wagon trucks. These trucks were seen in the 8th series first of all, and I think until the end of the model series, they were more or less seen nearly all the time. Like I said, I have another one of these red trucks, as you may remember, and I got that from Morley at the NEC in Birmingham last year. So yeah, as you can see, I've got another one here, and I've told you in my in one of my other reviews, I think it was in the Hornby Percy one, I got this at the NEC in Birmingham, and it says the Tootly Thomas logo on it, but I didn't buy it from Tootly Thomas. I said I bought it from another stall holder at the NEC in Birmingham. The only things that are really different between the two Thomases is that say this one has a brake pipe and the other one doesn't. However, this one used to come with a brake pipe on the old model, and you can sort of see on the old one here where it used to be, but like I said, it obviously must have got broken through being well played with. But like I said, it's not a huge loss between them. I think they run really well indeed. And of course, the Muddy Thomas from the Great Discovery has one of Thomas's faces that he wore from the 8th series right up until the show became full CGI. I think as well with Thomas, another criticism could be that he looks far too big. So he was sort of a small sort of shape, and I think it's the same with the Hornby Edward model as we discussed. Edward looked far too big. Dart from Day of the Diesels, who was later on also built, again he looked far too big in the Hornby range, and so it's a bit of a shame. But nevertheless, they do run really well, and I would recommend that if you see them, you get them. The Thomas range has been discontinued, but in the description on this video, like all the Hornby ones, there's links to actually contact Hornby to bring the range back. And a lot of people might think it might not work, but unless you contact Hornby and try, you'll never know. So if you want the range to come back, then do all you can. Saying contact Hornby and tell them to bring the range back. Also next year is the 70th birthday of Thomas the Tank Engine, the railway series. So it'd be really nice if they did come back for that. Another thing that is very different about the Great Discovery Thomas is that unlike the 1998 Thomas, it says underneath it when it was built or made, and you can see it was actually in 2008, and the year the Great Discovery came out on DVD, and obviously 10 years after the other Thomas. And also, you might as well notice it doesn't have any traction tyres, and for that reason it's slightly the better model, as it doesn't wobble as it moves around. So I've told you a bit about Thomas. Like I said, you've got Annie and Clarabel as well. I think Annie and Clarabel were quite good. Again, I don't think they 100% look like the Annie and Clarabel that we knew from the TV series. I think the faces are very nicely captured. I think it'd be nice if the windows were actually painted black. But again, it's not the end of the world. Also, I think when they go around with Thomas, it looks a bit unusual. But obviously, Thomas is quite big, and then they're quite small, really. Whereas I think it's fair to say in the TV series, they all looked a lot more in proportion with each other. Because obviously, say if I show you, you've got doesn't really matter which Thomas I show you, but you've got Thomas, and then you've got Annie, and Thomas is quite a bit longer. So I think again, unfortunately, it does look a bit unusual. Like I said, overall though, I do think Thomas is a really good model, runs really well. I'll get the other Thomas. So overall, I think I'll give the Thomas, both of them, an 8.5 out of 10. Just goes to show being number one isn't always the best. But they do look. I think they are really nice models, and they capture Thomas a lot better than the Bachmann range do. With Annie and Clarabel, again, they're in the Bachmann range, and I think it's fair to say that the models do look slightly better in the Bachmann range, and the colour as well, because I think the orange brown is a bit too sort of bright. I don't have any Bachmann Annie and Clarabels, but I do have in this range. Again, I think they're nice coaches, so I think I'll give them a 7.5 out of 10. Because like I said, they're quite there. Like I said, obviously to be perfect, it would have to be a 10 out of 10. It'd have to be absolutely perfect. But I think certainly they're all there. And that's the end of this review. As you know, Thomas is a very cheeky engine and likes to play tricks on the big engines, especially Gordon, who we'll be reviewing next time. Until then, thank you for watching and goodbye.